As human beings, we are meaning-making machines. We are constantly making meaning out of things, and that's not a bad thing. What's interesting is that our meaning-making tends to go in very specific directions or themes or patterns. Because of that, we don't typically challenge it. We don't typically ask ourselves, if it doesn't mean this, what else could it mean? And give ourselves the adaptability to explore multiple meaning for any given situation, circumstance, or conversation. So I'm going to give you a scenario. This is a real conversation I had with a client, and I want you to imagine yourself in their shoes. What would you make this situation mean about you? And what do you notice as you listen? What are some of the emotions or the thoughts that you connect to in this story? I was working with a client the other day, and they're in a situation where they made a choice to lay off some staff for profitability and for efficiency in their organization. Probably none of us would enjoy that process. And as we were unpacking and preparing for some of these conversations, there was an additional sense of regret. It sounded like judgment about self, judgment about the process. And so I asked him, what are you making it mean about you as a leader that you are about to engage these conversations? And he said, well, I failed. It means I failed. And it means that I didn't do a good job. And there were things I should have done 2 years ago so that we wouldn't be in this place right now. As I was listening to him share, I realized he was adding a lot of meaning to the data, to the situation. He was making it mean certain things about him that may or may not actually be true. What would you have done 2 years ago? See into the future. It sounds like there's an expectation that you should be seeing into the future. You should be able to anticipate accurately everything that's going to happen in your industry and the economy. You should be able to somehow be prepared for every eventuality. If you don't do that, then that means you're a failure. Then that means you're a poor leader. Now, I get it's uncomfortable to have those conversations with people when you're in a space where you need to reduce your workforce. And what he was adding to it was making the process so much more challenging, difficult, convoluted, painful, slow because of the resistance, and punitive on himself. What are some other things it could mean, other than you're a horrible leader, then you're a bad person, that you can't read the future and that means you're incompetent? It could mean you're a responsible leader. It could mean you're making the best choice you have in that moment. It could mean you're inviting people and supporting people into looking for another career opportunity for them. How are you going to be with them in this process is another question. So we are constantly and unconsciously making meaning. We can't help it. We naturally do it. And I believe we do it out of the stories that we live from, about who we are, about who other people are, about who God is or what our circumstances are. And you can have the same group of people in a situation, and they will all have very different interpretations of what's actually happening and what it means about them. I was in a training a few weeks ago, and in this training, one person made a decision to move forward with something, and another person said, that just means that you think you're better than the rest of us. And I thought that's a really interesting interpretation. It hadn't occurred to me to think that, and this person was very convinced that that's what it meant. We got to have a great conversation about what else could it mean. So ask yourself today, how often do I look at what somebody else is doing or not doing, and I make it mean something about me? It's an indictment about who I am or who I'm not, what I am or what I'm not, what kind of a person I am, what kind of a leader I am or not, and what does that generate in your life? And I guarantee you, if you took time in the next couple of days and just filled out a little quick journal about what are you making certain things mean when you don't have the information, or you have enough information but you've interpreted the information, you make it mean something. What are you making it mean about you, about the situation, about what's possible, about other people. And I promise if you do that, you're going to find themes. And those themes are going to connect to patterns. And when you see patterns, get super excited, because that lets you know there are some belief systems in place that may or may not be supporting you in moving closer to your vision. If you'd like to explore more on this topic, check out my video, What If It's All Resource? If this was helpful for you, like, subscribe, make a comment, ring that bell, share it with a friend. I would love to hear from you.